and welcome to this week's edition of Twin Peaks Unwrapped. I'm your host, Bryon and beside me is Ben Durant, and we're doing episode 15.
Episode 15, the episode after we found out who killed Laura Palmer.
Oh, man.
Are you still in shock over that episode?
I still think about that episode. I'm still thinking
you still
about
think
it today.
Maybe it's Ben?
I have, before we get into it, I just have a few things I wanted to get off my chest before. I was thinking about, I still think it's not Leland. It is Bob that's possessing Leland. But, you know, last week we were talking and you were saying some days you think one person, some days you think the other. Well, I had that day when I was thinking about it. Leland did kill Jacques in the hospital with no remorse.
Right. And what would Bob have to... Why would Bob care about Jacques?
But I really think that was Leland killing Jacques because he thought he really killed his daughter. I think when Bob possesses Leland, he doesn't know. He doesn't have control of his body. He doesn't know what's going on. So I think truly Leland did kill someone. So he should still go to... I mean, I know he went to court and then trial for that.
Yeah.
But... So I feel like Leland's still a killer,
right?
And he killed someone without any remorse.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I'm gonna save it. We're gonna do an episode in a few weeks about kind of like it's just gonna be an episode talking about the killer, like kind of like looking back on the killer, and I'll have proof that could say that Bob might have been involved with the Jacques Renault's thing. That there's
really
there's stuff there's things that happened that could point to a supernatural element to that.
Because even Leland seems to know he killed Jacques.
Right.
It's not like when they got him, he never denied it.
Right.
He was like, "Yeah, I did. I killed him."
Yeah.
Because they thought he was the killer.
Right.
So
again, I mean, like, well, so right. It's so complicated because it could go both ways. One way it could be that. If we're thinking it's Bob could get off on this and be like, I bet if I put a really sad act on that they'll feel bad for me and they'll let me go. And as we see in this episode, whoever this is that seems like they're invincible. It's like I can do anything I want because people will feel bad for me. And like this episode seems to be pushing the line of either Leland and Bob can get away with and stuff. And so I don't want to get into it now because I feel like when we get to that episode in a few episodes when we go over it, I might go into like every episode. Episode 1, there were hints about Leland doing this, and I don't know. Maybe I won't get to every episode, but I feel like there's a few episodes that you wouldn't see it the first time, maybe, but there were hints about things, and even that Jacques one, killing Jacques, there were hints that maybe Bob was involved. Possibly.
I got you. Okay, all right. Well, I just wanted to get it off my chest before we got into the show.
And I think we're going to have this discussion. I swear, we're going to have this discussion probably for another year at least, or however long it gets to Firewalk with Me, and we'll get beyond that. And I'm sure as long as we're doing this series, probably up to the new series, we'll be discussing...
Probably,
yeah. Yes. And that's what people have been, for 25 years, we've been discussing, Leland, Bob, who killed. Yeah, it's a good discussion.
Yeah, you don't want to know. I don't think I would be really disappointed if, like, David Lynch or someone came out and just said, well, this was it.
Yeah.
That would take the fun out of it.
And I think we talked about last week, a lot of it is kind of like, it's almost like your brain doesn't want to think that a dad could really do that to his own daughter and stuff. And I think that's, so sometimes those days where I'm like, oh, this is just too horrific. It's like, it's easier to think that some demon or some spirit did these horrible acts than thinking that,
Yeah, I think so. And I have one more thing. I guess, one more thing before we get into our normal show, just to go back to this, because I'm still thinking about it. So, I looked up the White Horse.
Okay.
Now, the White Horse showed up when Laura died. The White Horse showed up when Maddie died. And I guess the White Horse shows up in Firewalks with Me. But that's all I know. I just know it shows up in 3 times.
Well, I don't know anything about... where did you come up with Laura?
That's what I read.
Okay.
Is that something I should not know yet?
Maybe not, yeah.
Yeah, but I read it, and like, it's not like it's spoiling anything for me. But it said, like, their theory... Hold on, I have to bring it up. The theory was...
Well, while you're looking up that theory, so my theory was that it was the pale white horse, and I think it might be Revelations, that it represents death.
The pale horse, yeah. And the pale horse of death. You were absolutely right. One of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse from the Bible. And then, I don't know, because we watched that episode together.
Yeah. You didn't take notes. You didn't take any notes. You just got to enjoy that. Yeah.
The Log Lady's intro to episode 2-6, which would have been that episode.
14, yeah.
14.
Yeah.
And we didn't watch the Log Lady intros because we watched it on Netflix. Features a poem along these lines. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard this before. A poem as lovely as a tree, as the night wind blows, the bots move to and fro, the rustling, the magic, wrestling that brings on the dark dream, the dream of suffering and pain, pain for the victim, pain for the inflictor of pain, a circle of pain, a circle of suffering, woe to the ones who behold the pale horse.
Wow.
So,
woe to the
pale horse. And if I saw the log, because I pay attention to the log lady,
right,
and I heard that, everybody, there's the horse.
Right. What do you make of the log lady? What she has to say? Like
it sounds to me, pain for the victim, pain for the inflictor of pain, a circle of pain, a circling of suffering. So it's painful for Leland to be doing this because I don't think it's really him. It's Bob, but it's still maybe the same person, and it's painful for him. Obviously, painful for the person who's being killed.
Right.
And then Laura is laying on the ground. So even it's painful for her. And a lot of people think, I guess Leland drugs her.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it there, but I thought we'd get to it. But yeah, I think, you say what you have to say.
Yeah, he drugs her, so that way she doesn't know what's going on. And then when she passes out, he can kind of do what he wants to do.
Yeah, because you were saying last week, maybe he
I
punched
didn't
her in
know.
the stomach or something. I was like, I'm going to let Bryon just say that. Because I figure, sometimes I don't say anything because I want to get to an episode where at some point they will say that she was drugged and stuff like that. And I think
sense.
I think it'll come up again in other places that he finds ways to drug her and stuff. But yeah, I mean, you could look at. You could also look at. I mean, yeah, we'll get there sometime. But there's a lot more question about the mother and did she always know or did she not know? And it kind of goes to this environment of this house in some ways that, like, if we look at it as Leland, it was always Leland, abusing his daughter. Did the mother look away and not see this? But we have the drug, so maybe she never was aware because she was always getting drugged.
She was passed out, and she had no idea. Yeah, yeah.
But still, that whole scene where she's saying Leland, and she's going down the stairs and stuff. Is she saying Leland because I don't feel well and I'm sick, or is it Leland, I know you're about to do something really bad? Like,
yeah, but I feel like when she came out of it, she would know, hey, Leland did something bad. But she doesn't. Like when Laura died, she wasn't pointing a finger at her husband. I kind of feel like if she knew at that point, she would be like, it's him.
Yeah.
But maybe she just doesn't know.
Right. I mean, yeah. I wonder if
I
wonder if she knew some bad things, looked the other way, and never thought it could get to the extreme that it's gone to. But yeah, we'll revisit that.
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But,
so it's interesting stuff, and I felt like kind of safe. I can go into the world of the internet and look things up.
Yeah, I still worry. I still hope you don't get into the end of the series.
No, I play it safe.
Okay.
I play it safe. I have the safe feature on my computer. Do not look up the finale of Twin Peaks.
It filters anything that it reveals the mystery part of it.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
At the same time, I hope you don't. But at the same time, there's nothing like experiencing Twin Peaks. Like, out of all the spoilers, there's nothing. You can't beat the actual experiences of watching it and stuff. So
yeah, if that was ruined for me, I wouldn't have had that reaction.
Right.
I'm glad it wasn't ruined for me.
And I still can't believe where you're posting a Happy Father's Day with a picture of Leland looking in the mirror. I'm like, he must know. He must know with all these different pictures, and sometimes there's pictures with Bob and Leland next to each other.
Well, you know what though? I've seen pictures, but I don't know what the context is.
Right.
So I don't know.
So it could just be. We've talked about. One theory was you thought maybe Bob was haunting the Palmer's house and stuff.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, and I also feel like since he saw him as a kid. Right. And it could have been a spirit. Maybe Bob has been living in Leland the entire time, so technically it really is Leland, and this bad side of him. But Mike, the mystery of Twin Peaks is that Mike's looking for him, so that gives you that he's a spirit. He's a spirit of some sort. So it's not like he's not been looking for Leland. He's looking for Bob. So Leland has been possessed by this person for who knows how long.
Yeah.
So
I think in the last episode, It might have said 40 years.
40 years.
40 years.
Okay, so
maybe.
So technically,
possibly, yeah.
It is Bob that's doing these dastardly deeds, but it's Leland's body. So technically, it's Leland doing it.
Yeah. I know. I always play devil's advocate.
You have a smile on your face. Too.
No, I'll say that I believe in the whole spiritual stuff. I mean, mystical. Bob is the bad guy. And separate. Yeah. But I like to also play the other side and say to you, it could be Leland the whole time. You couldn't look at it both ways.
I have a hard time looking at it that way only because Mike exists and Mike's looking for him.
Right.
And the whole arm thing, like if you took that out of the equation. I get it,
right.
But because we have someone that's looking for his spirit, and he cut his arm off because he didn't want to be possessed. To me, that gives you that extra, right. What's going on here?
Another way I guess I look at it is Mark Frost and David Lynch are telling a story, and they're really telling a story about incest and about how horrible this town was shaken up over.
Yeah.
And we're covering it up with spooky stories of demons and stuff like that. I mean, anyways, we got to get going.
I know we got to hop on the show. Okay, all right, Ben.
So we are on episode 15.
We forgot. Yeah,
I know. What episode are we on? Episode 15. This is written by Scott Frost. This is Mark Frost's brother. Scott Frost was the one that did the Diane tapes. He did all the scripts for the Diane tapes. And this is directed by Caleb Deschanel. He's been on it. He's directed before.
Is that Zooey Deschanel's dad?
Right. Yep.
Is it really?
Yes.
Oh, you told me that before.
I did share that with you, and I can't remember the other one from Bones. There's the other sister.
Okay.
And then Donna Hayward's mother, the actress, is really the mother, the wife of Caleb, and mother of the girls. All right, this aired on November 17th, 1990. The ratings were 8.2, and it placed 69. So it's getting worse again. I think it was in the 50s last week. That's why it's it's sad when you can really enjoy this show and it's so good, and yet most of the country is not even paying attention anymore. It's kind of too bad.
But it makes you feel like it's your secret, your special little the only thing you know about, So I kind of like that.
Yeah, it is really special, and it has kind of become a cult following.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's I think it's going to be amazing when it comes back. I think it's going to do really well. Can't wait for season 3. So we are now in the Palmer house, and Leland is playing golf.
Oh, and so the log lady for this episode.
Yes,
I did watch the log lady for this episode. She talks about balance. Over or under eating. She uses this over or under eating metaphor the entire time. And how if you overeat, if you're just eating to live, you're fine. But if you overeat, you're unbalanced. And then she talks about the number 7 not being a balanced number. And I believe that comes into that number 7 or something comes into play later in the episode.
Interesting.
Something does. It's in my notes. I know it's there.
I actually watched The Log Lady. I actually last night I had I've seen this before, but I thought I'd watch it again, and I put the Blu-ray on, and I actually put it with The Log Lady. So I heard this, and it was like, yeah, I really need to go on a diet. Thinking about myself, so yeah, I really do eat too much food.
Wow, so the log lady's giving...
She was speaking to me. She was giving me
through the TV.
Yeah, she was like, yeah. But Lynch is very much into numbers. I think I've heard where he'll be driving and he'll see a license plate and he'll think that's bad numbers and he'll change his driving pattern or something to get to work. I think he's
superstitious.
He's I think he is pretty superstitious. But it's funny because I always thought of 7 as a lucky number.
Yeah.
And I think of 6 for some reason as a not a good number and stuff.
Yep.
Maybe
Yeah, 7, but 7 is an uneven number.
That's true.
I guess that's what they're going for.
Right, so it's not balanced, but that's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting, definitely.
So this is the day after the killing of Maddie, and we are now in the Palmer house, and Leland is playing golf in the living room.
And I was thinking, Bob has to be out of him now. Maybe he killed... So I'm not... At this point, I'm thinking, Bob's gone. He killed Maddie, but... Come to find out, Bob is still in him. But also, there's a very cockiness about Leland now.
Yeah.
He's not like before. He went super crying, which that could have been the real Leland.
Right.
And then when his hair went white, that could have been when Bob took over 100%. Is that ever a theory?
I've never heard that theory. That could be a cool theory.
Why did his hair go white and he became super happy?
Right.
Yeah, we know he killed Jacques, but maybe that's when Bob fully took over him.
Interesting.
Maybe Bob's just part of him now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's killed 2 people in a month. I mean, like, I always thought that he probably didn't kill as many people as
3.
often.
Laura, Jacques, and Maddie.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think about Jacques, but you're right. So he seems like he's just getting away with it, and he's got it all figured out.
Yeah, that's why he's being cocky.
Right.
Like,
I'm invincible. I was thinking of I think it's Saturday Night Live with Clinton. It's like, I am bulletproof.
Yeah. That is so Leland.
Oh.
So then I was thinking, has been Bob been him since a child, but we 40 years. He's been in him for 40 years.
Yeah, I always kind of think. I mean, when I watched this, I thought maybe it turned on and turned off, but it's hard. Bob could have taken over now completely.
Maybe the white hair. Maybe it's the white hair. Like it took over him and it shocked his body.
Maybe
because nobody ever talked about why he just went platinum one day.
Right,
he went to Silver Fox.
Yeah, I can't remember if Dr. Hayward had anything to say about that, but I thought it was the stress. Of having to losing a daughter and stuff.
Yeah.
But so.
And then the golf bag. I love the fact that he fit Maddie's body in a golf bag.
He cleans up really good. I mean, there's no blood on the carpet, and
yeah, it's so funny how. Yeah, he fits her whole body in a golf bag, and he puts one golf club in there.
Yep.
And he's gonna go golfing. And oh god. Oh no. Okay, so after Leland goes golfing and everything, Ben and Jerry are back together, which is kind of cool to see him back together.
Yeah.
That Jerry's gonna be his lawyer.
Right.
His lawyer. And there's no real evidence of Ben Horn being the killer. There's actually no hard evidence at all.
I'm trying to think.
I don't think
we have
is.
the diary that seems to say that Laura says, "I one of these days I'm going to tell about Ben Horn."
But,
and we know through Audrey. Audrey found out that he did have sex with her, and that she was at One Eye Jack's. And
but there's no evidence of killing. So I mean,
right, we don't have the weapon that he used, or his fingerprints,
There's nothing. But it's actually kind of cool to see these two back together. I rather enjoyed it this time around.
Yeah.
Maybe because they're not talking about burning down the sawmill and eating cheese. Maybe.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about this episode is you kind of see them as humans. I mean, we're going to get to the scene where they're kind of like bunk beds and they're kind of remembering this girl that they liked when they were. I'm guessing it was their babysitter and stuff. But
no, it was Laura.
No, it definitely wasn't Laura.
I thought it was Laura.
They show pictures of they show video when they were kids and stuff. I mean, there's a flashback to them
Oh yeah, it couldn't be Laura because Laura would be.
Laura's only 18.
Yeah,
I don't even think she would be born when they were kids and stuff. So it's really, I think it was their babysitter.
Oh, is that who it was?
I'm guessing. I mean,
so weird. It was such an odd.
The funny thing is that that wasn't in the script. And the director, I think he actually talked to Lynch about this, that he wanted to use flashlights and do this whole little dance thing, and I think Lynch was cool with it and stuff. But it wasn't part of the script. He just decided, this is something I just want to do and stuff. And they're doing weird, strange dancing all the time. But,
that's true. Yeah, for some reason I wrote down Laura flashlight dance, but you're right. It couldn't have been Laura.
Right, unless they're pretending but it's not. Yeah.
In this show, I constantly forget the kids are not adults because the kids seem like adults, so I kind of you almost forget how old they are,
That's true.
I do all the time. So it's not Laura, it's her babysitter.
Something like that, yeah. Well, we'll have to do a tiny piece of the scene when they get to that point, maybe. Or
yeah, it's very odd. It was interesting to say the least. But basically, Ben and Jerry, Jerry's like. He can help him out. But I think he comes to the conclusion that he might not be the best.
Bring up some audio for a second.
First room, Beth? Me on the top bunk and you on the bottom bunk. Louise Dombrowski dancing on the hook rug with a flashlight.
Louise. It looked like Laura. She's kind
Actually, I thought it looked like Audrey.
Yeah. I bet you anything, it's like one of the actresses. They just
Yeah, it might be. I don't have any background on who it really was.
kind of looks like the Sprocket dance from Saturday Night Live and Mike Myers. Like the dance looks so corny.
Yeah, and so there's young Jerry and Ben just watching on the bunk.
Yeah.
The dancing.
And it's so odd.
It's interesting lit because you don't really see the face of the girl. It's all like in silhouette, but it's the flashlight that's really showing the motion and.
Yeah. It's very.
But it's like I think it gives them a human. I mean, so this is one of those times where they're not scheming. They're doing something mean. They're just talking about how. It's almost like maybe one of their first crushes. I mean, they were young then, and so maybe they kind of. I don't think it was even a sexual thing. It was just something like, oh, remember that girl? Wasn't she sweet?
Yeah, she danced for us. and one of them was dressed in a suit.
I think that's Ben.
He's got a tie and a suit on. They're dressed very well for children.
Well, I mean, I think there's some background somewhere where even Ben's father did really well and stuff. Like Ben's father owned the Great Northern originally and stuff. So I think they've been wealthy for a long time. So I'm sure they were, their parents were like, you're going to wear suits even at 8 years old or something.
While you're playing.
Yeah. So Lucy's sister comes back with
Gwen.
them. Yeah.
Now, is that Patricia Arquette? No, who is that?
No, I can't remember who that is. I've actually seen her even recently. She's been in stuff, but I can't remember the actress's name.
Is Patricia Arquette in the show?
No, she's in Lost Highway, which is David Lynch's film. Which is one of my favorite David Lynch films.
We're going to have to do that.
We'll have to do it eventually, yeah.
Yeah. But,
and she's kind of... I know she talks
annoying.
She's annoying. It's
funny
because sometimes Lucy borders on being annoying, but this girl takes it to a whole new level. And I think she's meant to be annoying. I mean, I think Andy is annoyed with her even. So I don't.
Yes,
I think,
they both are.
Yeah.
They tell her to shut up.
Shut up.
Shut up. And all right, so we have Cooper.
Yep, he's giving Diane an update on the investigation.
Yeah, which was so cool to hear Diane again.
Right.
To hear Diane tapes.
To talk to himself.
Yeah, I missed it.
I really do think he has a secretary. I do. I think he has. Oh, and now they're watching Leland dancing. Fred Astaire.
Oh, so I wrote he's singing and dancing. I wrote, Leland has gone mad. Bob has him. What if Bob has always been him? Mm-hmm. See, that's what, I'm saying. Yeah. So it's me. Bob could just represent the topic of borderline personalities, split personality.
Yeah.
Sure. People have split personalities.
But they're concerned that he does not know that Ben has been arrested, and so it's like, oh, we're gonna have to. He seems so happy, and now we're gonna have to break the news that Ben is. You want to bring up some audio? Yeah, I mean, we just did, but maybe.
Just call me Fred.
Just call me Fred.
Leland, I'm sorry. We didn't want you to hear it from anyone else. We've arrested Ben Horn for Laura's murder.
Huh?
He hasn't been charged, but we're holding him.
Ben?
That's right.
Oh, there must be some mistake, Harry. Ben?
It gets creepy. This is when I start liking it, too.
Oh, yeah. This is what I like. I mean, Ray Wise, who the actor who plays Leland, is amazing in this episode because you see him go from happy to distraught to sad to laughing and being evil, and it's quite an amazing part.
And then when he walks away, he walks away and like you could hear him. And you think he's crying, but he's laughing madly.
Yeah, he's like, I'm getting away with this.
And Cooper sees him, and Cooper seems very uneasy the whole time. He's kind of eyeing him like
he's knows a strong sender. Something's up with him, and he can't put his finger on it, and it just doesn't. He doesn't feel like this is right.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm gonna bring it up just to hear. And then he starts.
I'm like, I'm getting away with this.
Yeah, like he's evil.
Harry, I'll catch up with you.
It's almost like he's like the Joker,
Yeah.
And the emotions are just switching, so it's almost that. a manic depressive kind of
What's
person.
interesting about this episode is that, like, for the first time, we're one up on Cooper. Like, Cooper always seems to just have everything put together, and as the audience, we know something he doesn't know, that this is the killer. Yeah. Which is kind of... The downside is it makes Cooper seem like he's either stupid or not quite as smart as us in some ways, because we know...
Well, I feel like also Cooper, there was a point in time where Cooper felt like he knew too much too quickly.
Yeah.
And sometimes I kind of felt like that was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But him now trying to figure out, but he thinks they got the right guy.
Yeah.
But he's also, I mean, Leland is the last person they would think of.
Yeah, why would you ever... I mean, like... Is the father of the daughter? I mean,
exactly.
his daughter that murdered. Yeah, you wouldn't think that.
So I mean, Cooper not knowing doesn't surprise me.
Yeah,
but it does seem like he knows something's up, and I like how Leland, after everybody leaves, he looks and he does like this little dance, this little shimmy. Like, it's so bizarre, but
right.
I love it. It was quite interesting.
Too funny. That's great.
Oh, and. What did I... Okay, Laura's... I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but, like, Laura's diary exposing Ben... I don't know what it would be exposing, that Ben had sex with her.
Right.
That would probably be the extent of it. I mean...
Yeah, and I mean, there was dialogue basically saying... what does it say? Basically, he says, I know something about Ben that other people don't know, and if I told,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they prick his finger for blood, and I think they say to see if Laura's blood is on you or something weird. They
have a weird dialogue, but so in the first season, I think that they found O negative blood around the scene of the murder that was not Laura's and stuff. So they know the blood. They figured if the blood matches the killer's blood, that they might have it figured out. The problem is unfortunately, I think the whole thing gets messed up, and I don't know if Jacques did have O negative, and it became convoluted, and so I don't even know if you want to base it on the blood, because I think at least Jacques did, and a couple other people probably did have O negative, but I don't even know if that tells you anything. I could have O negative. That doesn't mean I'm the killer, so I don't know how helpful that was, but
DNA. But back
the
then,
DNA, but yeah, I don't know. In 1990, I don't know what.
Yeah, I don't think...
This is actually technically this is in 1989. The show was in 1990. But the setting of the show takes place in 1989.
So yeah, maybe DNA. He'd be in jail for a good 10 years before they figured out DNA.
But I think he's worried because there is enough evidence that he does a lot of bad things, and like
he's a bad guy.
He's a bad guy. So like the town might just lynch him over all the other things he's done, even if he wasn't really the killer.
Yeah, I think he's screwed either way. But fraud. Money laundering, tax fraud, burning down buildings,
whorehouse or something.
Yeah, but that's in Canada, so I don't really know if they can do anything.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what that.
I don't know either. But
I mean, the thing is, he's taking underage girls from his department store to Canada.
He's farming girls to go over there to be in
So
his...
I feel like there must be some way you could get in trouble over that. I mean,
actually, they're technically kidnapping because you're bringing... Well, they're 18, aren't they?
I don't know if they're all 18. I don't think Laura was 18.
Okay, well, because then it would be kidnapping if you bring over a minor over, especially the border.
Yeah.
What is going on? This man is screwed.
I also love the scene where they basically tell Jerry Horn, you were last in your class for law. I think he failed 3 times the bar. It's like you were not a good lawyer for Ben and stuff. And he basically does shut up. He basically sits down and be like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to help you.
Yeah, he's like, as your friend and your brother, I am not the man for the job.
Yeah.
Also, we have the Bobby and Shelley story. Bobby going to blackmail Ben Horn with a tape. The tape that he found in the shoe was actually the tape that Leo had.
Basically, the Ben Horn and him and Leo are having a conversation about burning the mill.
And Leo had taped it.
Right, so maybe he was thinking of blackmailing him.
To get his money back, to get money out of him.
So now I think Bobby wants to do that.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, you know what's funny? I think Shelley and Bobby are both really turned on in the fact of getting money from someone. because when they don't have money, they absolutely hate each other.
Oh.
They hate life. But as soon as there's talk of money, they're all over each other. They're ready to go.
Yeah.
And the fact that she has food
All over.
over herself, and Leo is in there in a coma. How did he throw the food at her? He must have thrown.
He
don't
spit
even
it
know.
out. I think he was spitting in another episode. That's pretty far and stuff. I don't. Yeah, but it's funny. They're playing house in some ways. Bobby is supposed to be the dad, and she's the mom, and Leo is the kid. But yeah. And I think in the real world, I mean, like they are. I think they're technically high school students, even though Shelley is no longer in high school. They're kind of all of a sudden faced with the real world, and they have to pay for bills. And you don't. I mean, you know, life isn't probably as good as you think it is once you have to take care of.
She was married to Leo.
Right.
She has to be out of high school by now.
Well, I mean, I think she dropped out, so I don't know.
Oh, she dropped out.
I feel like maybe she's a year after high school, or I feel like she's technically supposed to be around the high school age. If you remember last episode, I think it was Nadine say, "Are we in high school together?" And Shelley's like, "I don't think so," but I think she's probably only maybe a year after high school.
Okay.
She's still young enough that. So we meet Norma's mom.
Oh God, another subplot. It was like more characters.
Yes.
I was like,
I say the same thing. Oh God, what is this?
And then not only we get to meet Norma's mom, we get to meet Norma's convict husband, new husband, who, let's just glaze over this subplot.
Glaze over it.
Basically, he is an old friend of Norma's husband, Hank.
Yep.
He was in the clink with him, and he's trying to change his ways, but technically he's placing money on sporting events. Or he's gambling her money.
Right.
Because she's rich. And the 1,000 on Houston, she sees a paper, so she knows, oh, the guy's a little off.
Yeah.
But yeah, you kind of find out that whole stuff, and you're like, oh boy.
Right. So now we're back in the Great Northern, and Mike, the one-armed man.
His stump is
You want to bring up the auto? Maybe we'll just see what he's doing here.
Nurse, could I have a glass of water, please?
Yes, sir.
So the nurse leaves the room, and he asks for a glass of water, and there's a guard there, and when we come back, we see an open window, and Mike is gone.
Well, no, Mike hits him over the head.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah, and then he apologizes.
Okay.
So unlike Leland being possessed,
Yes.
his possession.
But he still goes towards the window, and then all of a sudden you come back and
He's
there's
gone.
nobody there. What did you make anything of that? Did you have any thoughts about that?
Oh, I just think he jumped out the window.
Is that what you thought? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't really think anything much more.
I have thoughts about it.
You do? What do you do? What you think? I mean, it was a quick jump if you think about it. I mean, for a one-armed guy, he moved pretty briskly.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll just throw out my theory. We haven't talked about it much, and I don't know if it would become clearer in the series goes on. But when I saw this when I was 15 years old, I actually thought he turned into an owl and flew out the window.
That's interesting.
Brian doesn't buy it.
I don't buy it, but that would go with the whole owl theme.
Right, and owls and maybe the spirits. So you don't buy it. That sounds too crazy for you.
Well, nothing's crazy in this show, so I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't think anything of it, but
right. There's no proof on that.
Has anybody else thought of that theory?
I don't know. I just thought it was
okay. Well, I like that.
I haven't heard anybody say it, but it just seemed makes sense to me.
It does.
Maybe no, it does. You don't think it does.
Well, I mean, I didn't think about it.
People people who are listening right now, I want to hear your opinion on this. Do you think he turned into an owl and flew out the window, or do you think he jumped out the window? I really would love to hear, like, if people want to, like, Facebook message us or email us or Twitter or anything. I really want to hear what people think, because I thought it seemed obvious that maybe he was turned into an owl and escaped.
Would he be a one-winged owl? Well, I mean, I don't know.
About that, no.
He could have one wing. I mean, but I like that theory. It's a good theory. But I did want to say one thing, though. Norma's mom and her husband, it's interesting how they're going on a honeymoon at Twin Peaks. Why did they pick Twin Peaks to go on their honeymoon?
Right. I'm guessing that she wanted to spend some time with her daughter.
On their honeymoon?
You know, Twin Peaks is the greatest place you could ever go
It's like
to.
Disneyland.
I mean, they have scenery. You can go fishing.
You have drama. They have
murders,
owls and murderers.
Yeah, plenty of owls.
But yeah, I just wanted to say that.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So Mike escapes to find Bob, and he turns into an owl. Maybe I don't know. He could. Also, we find out that Josie's gone.
Yeah, so we saw in the last episode Josie kind of left, and Harry was begging her to stay. Don't go.
Yeah.
And what do you say?
Pete confesses his love to
to Harry. Yeah.
Harry about how he loved her.
Yeah, I think it's a funny kind of. I mean, I don't feel like it's not a lust. It's a like I think he really admired her, and he thought she was a wonderful person.
Yeah, and like they kind of bonded about it a little bit. Like, we can't believe.
Do you want to bring up audio again, and we'll talk about this?
Average height, medium build, ponytail.
Oh, that was her cousin, Jonathan.
And this is interesting.
She said it was her assistant, Mr. Lee.
Nobody can really know. Nobody really knows who this guy was.
Yeah.
It was her lover or controlling. It was like. It could have been. It was probably someone from the Hong Kong mob.
Yep.
And was controlling her.
Yeah. But it's interesting. So I mean, now they're kind of exchanging stories and realizing that.
Yeah.
She's lying. Somehow she's lying and stuff.
Yeah. I'm assuming she comes back.
Maybe.
They always come back.
They always come back. But it's funny they talk about cousins, so it always makes me think it's like, but doesn't it look like Laura Palmer? That's my cousin, from the Red Room and stuff like that. Just anytime they say cousin, it makes me think of the Red Room dream sequence.
That's true.
That's my cousin.
That's. I like how we see Lucy watering fake plants on the Blu-ray. I knew there were fake plants, and she's watering them, holding Gwen's baby.
That's right.
And those are so fake plants; they're not real.
Maybe they know they're fake, and she does it anyways.
Hey, Lucy, we need you to do something. Go water those fake plants.
You're driving me crazy. Stop talking to me. Go water the fake plants.
I was looking at the leaves, and they're like so pronounced and shiny, and I knew they're fake.
Well, back in 1990, we didn't have HD quality.
So we couldn't get away with fake
We didn't
plants.
have big TVs. And
I know.
Andy thinks that Lucy had her baby.
So that just proves he's not that bright, because she never even showed that she was pregnant.
She's only a month. She's not even I don't think she's even a month pregnant.
It was a couple weeks. Yeah. Like, so Andy thinks his sperm's so super, she can put out a baby in less than 2 weeks.
I'm
a whole town. You had the mayor. He's going to be the mayor of the town. So this is interesting. I didn't think that Pete had it in him, but he's being devious.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. So Pete comes to visit Ben Horn at jail, and he brought a tape recorder of Catherine, and basically wants to make a deal for her to give the alibi of where he was
for the money for her property back,
right?
Basically,
and Pete is laughing about this. So to me, this scene kind of says Pete's known about the affair between his wife and Ben for a long time.
She says it in the recording too.
Does she say that?
She says it felt like a dream when we last saw each other laying in bed together. As lovers, and she's talking, and it's like her husband's holding the recorder, and I'm like, oh my god, so he knows.
I think he was aware of the affair for a long time, and in a way, maybe he feels like he's gotten vengeance back, or that finally this person is going to bring brought to justice. In some manner.
Yeah. But yeah, he seems pretty happy, and it's just like a different side of Pete. So Catherine's back, and it's interesting because the opening credits, Catherine's credits are Catherine and Mr. T. It's like her name as Mr. T.
Really? I didn't know that. Tanjamar or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Oh, so we got to bring up some audio here.
This is my favorite scene of the whole show.
Oh yeah. Leland driving all over the road. He's on both sides. It's
so he's clearly possessed by a bad driver.
Now here's the funny thing. Cooper asked about no, listen, he's whistling the same tune. Tell me that isn't something.
I noticed that too when I was watching it.
Yeah.
I was like, is that the same song?
It sounds like it to me.
Yeah.
Crazy. He's a strong sender. He can sense.
Yes.
I don't know, but
I mean, no, I think that's.
Harry, your driver education programs are mandatory in your school system?
That's funny. Cooper says this. I don't think he's seen Leland yet,
No.
and then he all of a sudden sees him. So that's funny too. That
Harry, look out!
These are both things I thought when watching this episode was his whistle sounds just like the song, and why is he talking about that
Before it even happens.
Before it happens, and then he goes, "Oh, clearly that one failed."
Right.
And they pull him over. They don't know who it is. I think does Cooper come back to that later on? Or is that just one of those coincidences that only the audience sees?
Yes, I think that's it.
That's cool.
I think it's something we could definitely revisit sometime, but I do feel like it's a coincidence. It seems to be.
But they were on the same road, going in opposite directions.
Yeah.
And they're not that far apart. They're around the bend, and
right.
he says that, and he's whistling it. So he's receiving. I think like Cooper's receiving things, and he was giving him that weird stink eye before.
Right.
And this scene is like my favorite scene because Leland
he gets pulled over by Cooper and Harry for driving recklessly,
but he's also like he wants to show Cooper his golf club, and I'm like, well, wouldn't Cooper walk back there with you and you would open it and you would see a body because there's a body in there, a hand. You see,
he really is trying to see how much he can get away with.
Yeah. And then when he pulls the golf club out, Cooper, Henry is like, "Hey, Coop, something's up," and Cooper kind of turns away, and it almost looks like Leland's going to bash him in the back of the head with a club.
Definitely, yep.
And then Cooper's like, "Okay, some other time," and he walks away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that was a cool scene. Because you had that moment of Cooper could have saw what was in the bag, and would Leland have taken that shot to hit him in the back of the head? So that's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah, it makes me think that,
There's
right.
danger in there, you know?
I mean, it would be stupid because then Harry would just pull a gun and it'd be all over it and stuff, right? But it's right. It's that sense of that, like, he's reckless in some ways.
Yeah,
and he's reckless in the car, but he's also reckless. Like, I can kill anybody. It doesn't matter. But so I want to give you some unseen Twin Peaks.
Oh, my favorite.
right around here, right here. So, scripts are done weeks, months sometimes before something is shot.
Yeah.
That's how it is in doing this. So to keep they want to keep the killer a secret still. So the script does not have Leland in the car doing all this.
Really? Even
it
though
it has another character who's driving.
Is it Andy?
That would be cool. Big Ed.
Big Ed?
Big Ed is driving reckless. He's showing Cooper his clubs, and he's adjusting the car mirror and seeing Bob and stuff like that. So
they were having Big Ed.
So this is the first draft of this script. So I think in case they got leaked, people would see that, it was Big Ed doing this weird stuff. But it's kind of funny to think of Big Ed. He left Nadine at home, and he's just like driving crazy and stuff. And
Nadine, I gotta leave you. You're crazy. I gotta go be crazy by myself.
Oh man, but so it's kind of fun to think that like how they have to tweak scripts. I mean, and they know, of course, by that time who's doing the dialogue and stuff. But.
Yeah, but because, like you're saying, if this was all scripted before anybody saw it, they would have to definitely change it. I mean,
probably in like the third draft of the script, we're close enough now to film it that we can probably let the actors see it or something. Yeah. Or maybe Ray Wise, who plays Leland, is reading the script and he knows Big Ed means for him. I mean, to read that, but yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. It'd be weird to see Big Ed do that. And Leo, I got that. My notes.
So Leland talks about a dairy. I heard Ben.
A diary.
But he's trying to be like, he's trying to play it off dumb. It's like, I'm going to let you connect the dots.
Yeah. And he goes, a diary? That's it.
Yeah, that must be it.
Well, that must be it. I don't know what's going on anymore. And I'm stupid, but he's.
I do like that. So he asked Cooper, "Do you play golf?" And Cooper seems to really like golf. And the interesting thing is, the writer Scott Frost played golf, and Mark Frost, co-creator of the show, plays golf, and he's written several books on it. And the books have been based that have come out. Made movies out of that and stuff, but it's interesting to see these people who are involved with this do like golf.
Twin Peaks on golf.
Yeah,
they could do Twin Peaks on golf. And you see the hand and the plastic and hair.
Right.
And it's like 2 feet away from Cooper's head. You know, like Cooper's eyeballs could see that from where he was standing.
Right.
But he just ignores it.
And he thinks he's like, I'm bulletproof.
But you know what? Remember you were saying just not that long ago, this is the first time we're ahead of Cooper, but Cooper is always his instincts and he knows things.
Right.
I kind of feel like Cooper has instincts on this, but he's ignoring them. He gave Leland the weird look when he walked away, and he thought something was up. And then this scene, he was whistling in the driver's ed thing. And I kind of feel like Cooper has these signs that he normally gets, but because it's Leland, he's totally ignoring them.
Yeah.
Do you feel like I get that impression?
I also think, I totally think that. And I kind of think, I mean, this is all, the second season's always been about the supernatural. And it's not about, like, the physical, like most shows, CSI, you'd be like, well, the DNA will prove that this is the killer. And I think Truman and the officers still want to basically say, okay, we've got the diary, we've got some kind of proof that Ben Horn's doing it. But you kind of need Cooper to go into his supernatural mode to be able to figure out this case. You can't depend on regular investigation to do that.
Yeah.
Another thing that was creepy. So we that near the end of that scene, Leland looks in the looks in the mirror, and he sees Bob. What's kind of creepy about that is we're seeing Bob in the daylight. A lot of times we might see him at night, or we'll see him in the house where we don't know what it looks outside. But to be out like in broad daylight outside, and you're looking in the mirror, and he is. And that's because most horror movies, they don't do that. They're like, okay, if you're gonna have a bad villain, it's got to be nighttime to do that. So I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and we got a lot of outside shots this time around, doing different things outside of being confined to like the lodge or something.
Right.
I wrote down what hard evidence. I guess I'm still not convinced they can convict Ben Horn on a murder because there's no hard evidence. It's just hearsay. And then we have a side between Lucy and Gwen, them talking about his sperm. And it's kind of just silly stuff. It's silly banter. Yeah. And they're both like, shut up. Because she just is very nosy.
Yes.
And she's like, don't men say that.
Right.
And
this is Lucy, but it's like
Lucy turned to 11.
Yeah. Turned to 11. It's like, oh, this is just too much.
Yeah, it's too much. And poor Andy's got to deal with two of them. He's just like, oh, God. So basically, Lucy has to confess to Andy that she had sex with Dick, but that I'm sure that will happen later on.
Maybe. So they bring in the one-armed man, Mike, to sniff on Ben. And do you want? We can play some more audio here of this, and we can talk about this. But now remember, he had gone crazy when he was in the Great Northern over Ben.
Bob is not here now.
Sheriff? Isn't there something that you'd like to share with us? Oh, great. And would you tell this guy to stop staring at me like I'm a dog biscuit?
Bob has been very close.
Who's Bob? I don't know Bob. Do we know a Bob?
So your theory was right that, because he hung around Ben Horn, it was kind of on him.
Like an aura or something like that. So he was probably the closest person that was that. Yeah. So, but Truman is frustrated by this whole thing, and I don't think he wants to hear what Mike has to say. And he says, "You know what? I'm gonna charge you with murder."
But they have to. He's charging him, but they can only hold him for 24 to maybe 48 hours. Without any evidence, they have nothing. I think so. Yeah, they say you can only have them for this long because you have no evidence.
Right, but then they did take the blood sample, so maybe they can get. I don't know. Can they get things back in 24 hours?
Probably not.
I don't know.
Peaks.
Right.
Well, Diane does get his earplugs in like less than a day, so maybe blood could happen. And Diane could do it.
Right. And then Cooper pulls Truman outside and says, "Hey, I don't think he did it." And I think at this point, Truman is just fed up. Like he's had enough of giants.
This is the first time you actually hear him like toughen up a little bit. Usually he's this like kind of laid back, but like he's putting his foot down for once. This is like the first time.
Yeah. So it's been like 3 weeks where he's followed Cooper to whatever Cooper wanted to do, and I think he feels like we're close enough. This seems like the right person. I'm not going to follow it anymore. And at the same time, Cooper is really cool in some ways. Like, it's funny, when Cooper first comes to Twin Peaks, he kind of says, "Hey, let me stop you for a minute, Harry. Sheriff Truman. When the FBI comes in, we take charge, and I know you might have a problem with that, but I hope we can understand." I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
so
way in the
it's kind
beginning.
of interesting that we start off that way, and now here we are. Basically, Harry is upset, and Cooper's like, he backs off. Hey, this is your neck of the woods. You do things your way. I'll back off and stuff.
Yep.
But it's interesting to see that where he first came in saying, "Hey, I've had problem with the law before. I want you to know I'm in charge."
Yeah.
And he feels that. I think it's because he's become friends with Harry that he kind of feels like, you know what, I'm willing to let you go your way, and I'll do my own thing and see what happens.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think everybody at this point is just, frustrated. The next scene, we don't learn much other what I already talked about how
Norma and her mom and the husband and Hank and
husband and Hank were in jail together. And I kind of feel like Hank, he got all cocky and he's just like, let's have a toast. I kind of feel like Hank might be another blackmail scheme because he knows he's trying to scheme money out of his new wife. It seems like everybody wants to blackmail somebody. So.
Yeah, and then the next scene, Cooper is back. Diane again. I think there was this twice in one episode. He actually talks to Diane. It's like he's making up for the lost time.
Yeah.
And he's not wearing a shirt, and you see that he still has the bandage on from being shot. And then he gets a knock at the door. And I'm sure he's like, "Oh, I better be careful because I got shot the last time I answered the door."
When we put this bulletproof shirt on.
Yeah, in the original script, he leaves the shirt off, and in the whole scene, he has the shirt off and talking to Audrey. And I don't know. Brian's making a face right now. It was supposed to be romantic, and Audrey was like, "Oh."
I don't know.
I know.
See, she's 18.
Oh, she's 18. I know. So he puts a shirt on, but she still notices that he got shot, and I think she's trying to follow up to see what's going to happen to her dad.
Oh yeah, I talked about. Sorry for the moment of silence there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, you didn't speak, so I thought I'd.
I actually didn't take any more notes.
What do you think?
What I think doesn't really matter right now.
Well, the thing doesn't matter, so he doesn't believe what Truman thinks.
Only in part.
Because I think he's ignoring his intuition.
Right. I think he's letting his friendship and the people around him
cloud his vision.
Yeah.
I'm sure that he does.
It's a shame to me.
So you know what? I'm going to actually go your way. You've always said that in a way Audrey looked at Cooper as a father figure. And the way she seems to be having this conversation where, she kind of looks up to Cooper to be that father figure, but she still kind of wants her father to be
a father.
And because he's ashamed of me and he never really loves me. And
she has daddy issues. So she has daddy issues. So she's young. She will look up towards older men. And maybe at one point she did like Cooper in a sexual way, but I kind of feel like at this point
she's matured a lot since One-Eyed Jacks. I mean, she definitely isn't. She isn't, going up. She isn't saying, "Oh, my best friend got murdered," and being silly. She's not poking pencils with cups and stuff. She has matured a lot just by having to see what she's seen.
She saw, yeah. And I kind of feel like she looks up to Cooper maybe in a father way. But I understand in the beginning it was more she has these issues with her dad, so she's acting out and she but I kind of feel like she realized,
Yeah.
You're right. I think that whole thing kind of brought her down. She's not acting weird. In the beginning, she's always causing trouble.
Right.
She's like a little rebel.
I love that. I love that part of her and stuff. But so we're nearing the end of this episode.
This is it's such a good part.
Yeah. And
we get to see Maddie
wrapped in plastic.
Oh, yeah,
man. I think it's right near the falls, the waterfall and stuff. Maddie? The funny thing is that so the one-armed man, when they found him again, when he escaped, when he was an owl, no, I'm kidding. When he escaped out the window, he went to the waterfall, and so I do think he was trying to track Bob, and it was it's still,
Bob was going there,
right? So he actually, if they would just let Mike do his job, they would have found.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I didn't put those two things together.
And that's where it ends. The face of Maddie dead,
A.K.A. Laura Palmer.
Right, and so right. The funny thing is, that, we talked about the last episode in the script. Cooper says, the killer's killed again or something like that. But it's clear in this episode, Cooper had no idea that Maddie had gotten murdered and stuff. So this whole episode, he doesn't know until we get to the end of the episode. I mean, I think I think that was another reason why he was kind of like off this episode. He saw the giant, but he didn't know what it meant. Like he didn't know like it's happening again, and he didn't know why the waiter was saying I'm so sorry, and he just felt like something was going on.
You're right. The whole episode, he seems off. Like, right. And I think because he's off, he's missing these cues.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's trying to figure out what the giant was trying to say, and he's trying to say, well, I don't really feel like it's Ben, but I don't know who it is.
So the mystery is clouding his vision. Maybe not his friendships, but I think the fact that he's kind of lost about what to do.
Yeah.
He's missing his normal cues that would.
Yeah.
He would have been like, something's up with Leland. Everything with the car scene. So
it's funny that you think that the giant would have helped him to be like, hey, it's happening again. Get on with it and figure this out. And if anything, it just seems to throw him off more for whatever reason. But yeah, it's a great episode.
But the giant never came. He never got clues prior to the murder. It was always after. Laura was after.
Well, and the giant gave him 3 or 4 clues at the beginning of the season premiere. He talks about the smiling bag. I mean, you're right though. The smiling bag was still Jock was dead already.
Yeah,
and he talks. I mean, he talks about the owls are not what they seem, whatever the heck that means.
Yeah.
And how did I miss one?
He points without.
Yeah, without chemicals, he points and stuff like that. Yeah. So I mean, there's breadcrumbs trying to lead you to figure out who killed Laura.
Maybe the giant was just saying you're in the wrong place, but Cooper couldn't figure that out.
I think he's trying to say that things are you're not going to be able to stop this. It's happening again, and yeah.
Yeah, you have to figure it out, but I guess you can't stop it. If it was going to happen, it was going to happen.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was a good episode. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I liked it too. I mean, it was. Yeah. I mean, I love being able to see the kind of from the perspective of the killer. Like we get an episode where we say, okay, he's pretty cunning. Like I mean, it would be interesting to kind of go back through all the last 15 episodes, 14 episodes, and see Leland and say, was Leland always just kind of like, oh, he's crying as he's dancing? When nobody was looking, when they dragged him out of a room, did he start laughing about it? Like, was he?
Yeah,
yeah.
My theory is when his hair went white, he was fully possessed by Bob.
Yeah, and what was going on? But then, do you think he was possessed by Bob when he killed his daughter?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was kind of going back and forth, and
I think Leland comes out when he was crying.
Yeah.
And very sad. I think it really was Leland because he doesn't know who killed his daughter. Mm-hmm. It was him, but he didn't know it. And if this possession has had him for 40 years, I'm sure it's in and out. But I think maybe it could be the white hair. After the white hair, Bob fully took over, and we're just realizing it now. Or B, Bob came back into him right before Maddie and now hasn't left him. But I like the hair theory personally because nobody explains why his hair just went he just went white.
Right.
I don't know.
It might.
That's my theory.
It might come up. It might come up soon.
Yeah.
But I don't think it'll be the best explanation. I like your explanation. I like your theory about it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only thing I could think of. But yeah, I like it because it can be interpreted so many ways. There's no real right answer. So.
Yeah. So I think we're skipping a message of the sheriff hotline.
Last week,
we're just gonna skip it. If you want to hear it, it's on the Blu-ray. It's also available, I think, on. I'm trying to remember if it's the Gold Box. I don't think you'll find it on, but you'll find it on other DVD Twin Peaks sets and stuff like that. But we're gonna end with message 7 of the sheriff hotline, and I've gone over it before, where the show was on Saturdays. The next day at 5 a.m., I think it was 5 a.m., I said that you could call this 1-900 phone number, and they would basically just do a recap of the episode we just heard. We just watched, or if you missed it, you get to get a recap and stuff. But then you pay $2 for 1 minute, and then another additional dollar for $3. It's crazy and stuff. And that's why I didn't do it every week. And I realized it was recaps. It's like, well, I've been watching the show. I don't need to. I mean, yeah. I don't know.
But you didn't know.
I didn't know. But the banter's kind of cute between Lucy and Andy. But not for the money. The mystery man. The mystery man. I remember we were talking about this before, and I thought he was kind of cooler than he was. I thought he was like a deep throat, but now listening to this again, I was like, oh, this guy is not that great. I mean,
it's like they just found a guy off the road. They're like, hey, can you do these lines?
Oh, man.
And I guess anything else before?
No, I think that's it for this episode.
Like us on Facebook, Twin Peaks Unwrapped, Twin Peaks Unwrapped, and follow us on Twitter, Twin Peaks Unwrap, and TwinPeaksUnwrapped.com.
Yeah. Did we miss anything? We did iTunes, Facebook, Twitter.
Oh, yeah. And iTunes, leave us a comment and rate us, and hopefully one day we can be in the top 50. That'd be awesome.
That's a great goal.
I'm shooting for it. And also, I have to say, my friends Jay and Sarah, who's the one who wrote a nice review on iTunes, they are both watching each episode with us.
For the first time?
No.
Okay.
For the second time. But they haven't watched, Sarah has not seen the Fire Walk with Me movie yet.
And she understands that she has to watch the series first?
Yes.
Okay.
So they're actually following along with us.
Wow.
So that's really cool.
Would they ever want to be on the show, you think? Or?
Maybe.
We can always talk to them sometime. If
if
they would want to just... Because it's always cool to hear other perspectives, and especially like friends and stuff. So we can always talk to them about
so
it.
they're... And they listen to us every week.
Cool.
So a nice little shout out to them.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for. I mean, we have a great community. I mean, on Twitter and on Facebook. I mean, it's so cool. I mean, I just love talking with everybody and hearing about what they think of Twin Peaks.
Yeah, and all the news coming out with the new series, and our Twitter is just getting bigger and bigger, and we're getting a lot more hits. And thank you for passing the word on of the show.
Yeah, I feel like every week we're definitely getting more and more people who are downloading or streaming our show. So yeah, it's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So we'll end this. So next week is a big episode. I mean, it's going to be an episode. I think we're gonna we might get closer to the conclusion of Laura Palmer mystery in some ways.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to that.
And we're gonna have Joel back on.
Joel Bacco will be on in 2 weeks. We will have him. So the episode will be focused on basically the killer. So I mean, and I think the way I look at it is it's going to be less of an interview with him, more of a discussion in general. So it'll be interesting with a phone call how that will go. But I'm hoping that we can kind of have a banter discussion. It'll be almost like he'll be like the our third host or something. But we can kind of all discuss the killer. And
I'm excited.
I'm fun. Yeah, it'll be good.
I can't wait because I can be part of the conversation now that I know the killer.
Yep.
I know. Before I couldn't be part of the conversation.
It's been so hard for so long. It's like, I can't wait to talk to you about this, and that's why I'm in that episode. The reflection on the killer. It'd be fun to go back to these other episodes and things I couldn't say. I couldn't say you'll ask questions about what do you think about that? It's like, I don't know. We're not going to get into it now because we ended the show. But your whole thing about I've heard the guy with the mask is also the killer, and now we can maybe discuss this a bit more.
But was it?
Maybe.
Because that would make total sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
I want to get into it in that episode. We'll talk about it.
All right, cool. All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Hello, Twin Peaks Sheriff Station, Lucy speaking. Oh, hi. As you probably already guessed, I'm back from my sister Gwen's in Tacoma, which is really a relief, except that she came with me. Boy, I thought I had problems. Did you ever wonder, after spending time with your family, if they picked up the wrong baby from the hospital when you were born, and you really belonged to some nice couple somewhere with a golden retriever?
Lucy, I have some news that Harry and Agent Cooper wanted me to tell the caller. Well, when I walked into the station last week, I saw Lucy holding a baby, and I thought maybe she had hers early, only it would have been 8 months early, so I passed out and hit my head.
That's when you met my sister.
The human loudspeaker.
Didn't you say you had news for the caller?
Oh, yeah, I got it here somewhere. The one-armed man escaped for a while. Then we caught him again. Only I think it was Mike we caught because there are two of them. Then Sheriff Truman charged Ben Horn with the murder of Laura Palmer.
Andy, sweetie?
That's just the tip of the iceberg. Our old friend Catherine Martell sent a nice little message to Ben Horn in jail about the night they spent together.
the night Laura was murdered. She wants her mill back, or Ben can rot in jail for the rest of his life. Of course, there's a good chance of that anyway, with Jerry representing him. Speaking of Ben, that resourceful young man, Bobby Briggs, found a tape recording Leo made of Ben and Leo planning to burn down the mill. I'm sure he's going to put it to great use. I think he has a very promising future. Hank Jennings finally showed up for work 48 hours late, just in time to meet an old friend of his from prison, his new father-in-law, Ernie Niles, who might just be taking Norma's mother for a nice long ride. I love this town, my kind of people.
Andy, are you all right now? Do you want me to tell them?
No. I'll do it. It's a policeman's job.
What Andy is trying to tell you is that we had another murder in town. Maddie, Laura's cousin, is dead. Andy?
They found her by the falls. I feel just terrible.
Me too. I'll be back next Sunday with more terrible news. This is Lucy. Bye.